Okay, guys. So, hey Daniel. Okay, so yesterday we laid out the three shitot in Rishonim about Techelet and Lavan. We noted that how many strings does the Rambam think you need?
Half.
Half. Right, 1/8.
1 of 7.
1 of 8. Right, 1 and 7.
Sorry.
Not 1 of 7. 1 and 7. 1 and 8. Yeah. The Ravid. This is from yesterday. I was like, yeah. The Ravid says.
Ravid says 2 of 8.
Right, 2 of 8, 1 of 4.
Right.
And Rashi and Tosfot say
4 of 8.
4 of 8, 2 of 2. Right, 2 and a 4. Now we noted that conceptually, right, this was based on the Tziv, based on the Rav, that how does the Rambam and the Ravid, how do they understand Tzitzit and Techelet and the relationship between them?
It's one mitzvah in 2 separate parts.
So, not really, right? That's not the key for them, right? The key, the Rambam thinks it's one mitzvah with 2 parts, but why does he come up with his particular conception of Techelet being one of?
Because the Techelet is the Lavan is the Ikar.
Correct. It's one mitzvah with 2 parts, but the Lavan is Ikar and the Techelet is the Korech. Right, the Techelet is what wraps. Right, that's what Rambam says explicitly. Right, in Halacha Gimel, I think he says that it's one mitzvah with 2 parts. Right, and he says, right, I should have brought my Rambam, but I'm not. Right, he says, right, it has 2 parts. Sheyasa knaf anaf yotzei mimena. Then in the corner you put anafim. V'sheyichroch al anaf chot techelet. And to wrap on it a chot techelet. The Tziv says the Rambam thinks that it's 2 mitzvah. It's 1 mitzvah with 2 parts. But the way you view that is that the ikar is the white, and the role of the techelet is to wrap. The only machlokas between the Rambam and the Ravid is when it says ptil, which wraps, is that 1 whole string or 1 half string? That's the only machlokas. What?
Ceilings wrap?
What? No. When it says you put a ptil techelet,
okay.
right? But the way the Rambam conceptualizes sheyichroch, right? That the role of the techelet is to wrap the white, but tzitzit bikaron is white, right? It's 2 parts of 1 mitzvah, but one is more central than the other. Namely, the white is the anaf, right? Is what you put on the corner, and then the blue wraps around the white.
Meaning the white is like the key mitzvah.
Is the basic mitzvah, right? The Tosfot is all of the other extreme. Tosfot thinks what?
That they're each like.
Right, Tosfot says very clearly, "Kaven de trey mine boy rachmana svarahu shiyu shavin." Right, you need 2 and 2. Why? Because for Tosfot, what's the definition of tzitzis? Right, for the Rambam, what's the definition of tzitzit? White. And blue wraps the white. According to Tosfot, what's the definition? White and blue.
Wow, uncless there.
But what's the...
Blue and white.
What was the word?
Correct.
No. What was the word that uncless uses to...
Now, but Tosfot points out that therefore, what is the simplest shot of ein ma'akvin zeh?
Meaning if you only have blue, then you still do 2 blue strings.
And not 2 white, and vice versa. Meaning, according to Tosfot, if I only have white, how many strings do I have total?
2.
2. 2, which is 4. Right? But not 4, which is 8. Right? So Rambam is easy. Rambam thinks that tzitzit definitionally is white. And the role of techelet is to be korech, is to wrap around it. The Tosfot is the opposite. The definition of tzitzit is 1 mitzvah with 2 independent parts, called blue and white. Right? Lavan and Techelet. And they're totally independent. When it says ein ma'akvin zeh, it means
that
you just rip one off.
If you don't have one, you do the other. Just the other. Right? What's the problem? Who's the most complicated shita in the sugya? Rashi. Because Rashi says, like Tosfot, how many blue strings do you need? 2. But what does he say ein ma'akvin zeh means?
Like
if you don't have
blue, you do all white. Mehecha teisi.
Rashi says
anybody says you need 2 strings.
What? You need 4 strings.
I'm saying, where does Tosfot and Rashi mean 2 strings?
What do you mean?
Ptil techelet.
Good. So that's right. That's a very hard read. But as we'll see later, the majority of poskim seem to have actually agreed with Rashi, which is why Shechter has 4. I think the reason I have 2. The most people who buy it nowadays, the most popular one is the Ravid, right? And the second most popular is the Rambam, and the third most popular is Tosfot. But in terms of psak, as we'll see in the Gardumin Sugya, The majority of...
I think Ardun is the word I was looking for.
Oh, okay. Now, but how do you understand Rashi? So you remember, right, Rashi's weird. Because Rashi, Tosfot thinks that white and blue are mamish equal. So it makes sense that if you don't have... Ma'akvin for Tosfot means, if I don't have Techelet, so I just have 2 strings total. 2, 4. Okay, fine. Yes. But according to Rashi, how could it be that they're conceptually equivalent, such that you need 4 and 4, or 2 and 2, however you want to look at it, right? But if you don't have Techelet, then you still have 4 strings, but they're all white. Or if you don't have white, what does he say you have?
All
Techelet. Mechatesi. So here the Rav argues. What did the Rav argue?
He's focusing on Gedilin.
Correct. There's 2 Parshia. The Parsha in Dvarim says nothing about white or Techelet. It says Gedilim Dasalach, which means that the definition of Tzitzit is not white or Techelet. What is it? Strings. And therefore, the ideal way of being Mekayim it is equal Lavan and Techelet. But if you don't have Lavan, then what should you do? All Techelet. If you don't have Techelet, do all Lavan. And that's Rashi's unique shita.
I don't get how you would have no Lavan. Well, what happened if you had a small amount of strings and you accidentally...
And they happen all to be dyed already.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
And the white wool factory burned down.
Bidyuk. Okay, so now let's look back at the Mishnah and the Gemara. But this was all within the Shita of Ein Ma'akvin. But there is another Shita in the Gemara, Ma'akvin. So we need to understand the other Shita. Because according to all these Shita, however you take it, in the end of the day, you can be Mekayim either the whole mitzvah or at least the Lavan without the Techelet. But there are 2 Shitas. So let's look at the Gemara. The Gemara says, Techelet, Ein Ma'akev et Lavan, Va'Lavan Ein Ma'akev et Techelet. Tefillah shel yad Ein Ma'akev et shel rosh, V'shel rosh Ein Ma'akev et shel yad. The Techelet doesn't prevent you from fulfilling the white, and vice versa. And the 2 Tefillin are not Ma'akev each other.
Isn't that what Tosfos uses?
That's what Tosfos uses to prove his point. Correct, because in the case of Tefillin, it's clear.
Right.
That what it means, Ein of Ma'akev, is that you can put on one without the other.
So what's Mehilatazi then by Tosfos? Or are you saying it makes sense?
No, Tosfos makes sense. The one that doesn't is Rashi.
Okay.
I mean, the conceptual extremes are the Rambam Ravid on one side and Tosfos on the other side. Rashi is weird because he thinks that Techelet and Lavan are equivalent, which means that the word Tzitzit means both, but he thinks that if you don't have one of them, that you still need 4 strings. 4 full strings, meaning 8 strings. Mm-hmm. And that's where the Rav argues it has to be the second Parsha. That in the Parsha in Bamidbar, Techelet and Lavan are equivalent. But the fundamental definition of Tzitzit is from Dvarim, which is just Gdilin, which is just strings.
Right.
And therefore there's a base definition called strings, and then there's a superimposed structure on top, which is, the ideal way is equal Techelet and Lavan, but if you can't, then make sure you have strings. It could be 8 white, it could be 8 Techelet.
Wait, so you're saying that when Rashi says...
Look at Rashi.
That means he's saying that they're equal.
Look. Afilu hachi ein ze ma'akev et zeh, v'yovid arbatan Techelet or arbatan Lavan, yatsa. But they're equivalent, like Tosfot, 2 and 2. And he even says, what does it mean in Ma'akvin? I could do all Techelet or all Lavan. They're mamish equivalent.
Right.
There's no preference.
Right, so he's talking about color versus...
B'diuk. Right, the number for him is definitional. Right, the definition of tzitzit is string.
Right.
The colors are superimposed on that. And in that sense, Techelet and Lavan are equal, but they're not definitional. I mean, the word tzitzit just means strings. Now the Gemara continues. So now the Gemara tries to understand the psukim. Lema masizin deloki Rebbe. Let's say the Mishnah is not like Rebbe. The Tanya ritemoto melamed shema'akvin zed zed divei Rebbe. Rebbe holds that they are ma'akev, at least at this stage of the Gemara. V'chachamim omrim ein ma'akvin. So now the Gemara says, how do you get it from the psukim? My time of the Rebbe, dichtiv hakanaf min kanaf, uktiv ptil Techelet. V'amar Rachmana uritemoto. You have 2 identifiable units. The knaf, which according to him is the Lavan.
Right, min kanaf.
Right? That which is similar to the Beged, which is the Lavan. Right. We'll have to come back to that. Ptil Techelet. And what does the Torah call it? Oto adika travayu bichad. So he reads it as follows. That Rabbanan ritem oto kol chad l'chudei mashma. Said, what's the difference? Rebbe reads it as follows. What does it mean, ma'akvin? Maybe I said this wrong yesterday. It's possible. The ma'akvin, according to Rebbe, is how do you get it? Is there are two components, and the resulting whole is called
1 unit.
1 unit, which means they are ma'akvin zeh. They're one integrated unit.
Right.
And what's the sheet of the chachamim?
That they each their own thing, I guess. I don't know where they get that from a pasuk.
Because each of them is oto, meaning oto isn't.
That's a
So look at the Rashba, who clarifies it a bit.
wasn't really a
Now,
dim
Do you have an
well.
extra sheet?
yeah. So this is the new sheet, right? The one with the Rashba on it. Like, you get the one with the Rashba on it.
The one on top.
Probably
Oh.
not.
Yeah, exactly. That was the. Did I just give you my last one? It's possible. This was left over from yesterday. Okay, it's fine. I'll share it with you. I don't know. The printer has been a bit. Oh, here it is. I did have one more for myself. Fine. Now, we saw yesterday that the Ktava Kabbalah notes. No, I just said this. I think I said this right yesterday. The Ktava Kabbalah says, why is it that we count tzitzis as one mitzvah from the same drasha? Meaning, right? The separate question, is this one mitzvah? The Ktava Kabbalah says the reason the Rambam thinks it's one mitzvah is the same drasha, oto. The machlokas in the Gemara is what is the relationship between the two components. If you hold ma'akvin, then you'll say, what does it mean oto? It means that this is one integrated unit, and without both, it's not defined as it.
Right.
If you think ein ma'akvin, you think that maybe it's one mitzvah, but each of them is an identifiable unit, and so if you look at the Rashba clarifies it a bit. He reads, he's careful. Nate, should we read it together? Because Nate got it. Okay, well,
Was Nate the only one who got it?
no, but I know you got it, and I'm proud. So let's do the Rashba, or the Miyuchos really. So what does he say? We'll read it careful. It's okay. It is a hard Rashba to read, but let the record show that Nate got the Rashba. So good.
Thank you.
So Gemara, he says as follows: Gemara, my time of the Rebbe, di'imishim uritem oto. If because it says, and you shall see it. Lo mashma dekai ela achada minayu, delav lashon rabim hu. It doesn't imply that it's referring to one because it's not plural language. Di'ikata rachmanu ritem otam. If it had said, and you shall see them. Afal gav davim metzinan lameimar dekai lashon ravan atzitziot. You could have said, even if it had said otam, you still could have said it's one mitzvah. Why? Because plural could have talked about the 4 strings, which are clearly plural even if one mitzvah, because we don't pass like Rabbi Shmuel in the previous Gemara. Right? Rabbi Shmuel thought that there are 4 separate mitzvahs. But even if you count them as one mitzvah, they're 4 physical units. But since the Torah went out of its way and didn't use otam when otam would have been legitimate, whether you thought it was 1 or 2 mitzvah, whether you thought ma'akev or not ma'akev, now it's ambiguous because the singular can refer to either the Techelet or the Lavan because they are equivalent. It's what is it? It's an ambiguous modifier. Right? The direct object is ambiguous. Remember your grammar? Oto is.
I know what he's talking
No,
about.
Walter gets it. Yeah, sure. I'll
There's a pronoun here, which is referring to something.
Yeah.
We don't know what it's referring to. The Rashba claims that, what is Rebbe's point? That there's an intentional ambiguity. Because Oto can refer to Techelet or Lavan. Nema dekai aklekulhu.
If was referring to Techelet, wouldn't it be Otam?
No, because it could be the string which is dyed Techelet.
Oh.
And the string of Techelet or the string of Lavan. Va'od, dimistamayt lanamimar dekai tveya Lavan u'Techelet me'atzitziot aftinu krabelashon yachid atzitzit kari rachmana avalotot tzitzit shnaz mishnei minim yuchal omar bahem otam. He says furthermore that tzitzit are always more plural, even if they're called tzitzit, because they're made of multiple strings. And therefore the white, blue qualities are more likely to be that which are referred to in singular. Atchelet o alavan udoloma akve. V'im tomar im v'lo ma'akve el v'lo kapit kra el l'riyah dechad minayu. Now the Rashba comes up with a huge chiddush, which we'll have to come back to later in the Gemara because the main sugya isn't here. He said maybe.
Is that why it's
yes,
called
exactly.
Rashba?
I'm yuchasim l'Rashba technically, but yes. He says maybe the mitzvah in question is not wearing tzitzit, but is seeing tzitzit, which several Rishonim thought was an independent mitzvah. The Rashba, the Rivash, several.
Wait. Seeing it isn't like
looking at it was a separate mitzvah. Yes, the Rashba thinks this, or seems to.
Like without a
bracha,
just.
I know that Moshe doesn't hold that.
Just looking.
Okay, but it's the Rashba and there's the Rivash.
No, I know. I'm saying spoilers.
Okay. V'yesh lomer dezeino. Mishum di'ima akve I efshar lir'ot zebelo zeh. He said no.
The Rambam doesn't hold this either.
Okay.
I'm saying.
The Rashba does.
Spoilers.
Yes, but we'll get there. But he says that is irrelevant to this. Why? Because the mitzvah, if there were a mitzvah to look at your tzitzit, what would the mitzvah be? To look at the cheftzah called tzitzit. But in order to figure out what that cheftzah is, you need to know what the mitzvah is. Meaning, one is dependent on the other. Uri'item oto, even if there is a mitzvah of seeing, it's seeing it. And what's it? That's the question. Right? The question we're dealing about is what is the cheftzah of tzitzit? The question of whether there's a mitzvah only to wear that or also to look at it is a separate point. But the oto drasha is about the cheftzah shel tzitzit. If you didn't get that, that's fine. We're going to come back to that. But yes, know that the Rashba and the Rivash, and this is part of the Rivash's argument for why you look at tzitzit during davening. The Beit Yosef, who's quoting the Rivash.
Of course.
Rivash Bar Sheshet.
Alright, I've heard of the Rivash, of course.
Of course. V'im kein because of Ri'iyah achad minayu shmamino ma'akli. V'im to remind him of oto mashma achad minayu. Adarit lo namid oto koyat tzitziot evibu trovayu damayri itbu Techelet Lavan. So they don't get it. Still, why don't you say oto means the tzitzit? Which would include both. V'yesh lomar dim kein lechtov krav v'tirehu. Because then it should say v'tirehu. See it. It's the mihanach ta'iribu kraz ainu Techelet Lavan, because that was the last thing that we said, right? We didn't put it right after the tzitzit. We put it after the discussion of Techelet.
Right.
So what do we see? According to the Rashba, what's the machlokas in the Gemara? I think he makes it a bit clearer that the Gemara had a havamiyah. The Gemara rejects it. Right, the Gemara rejects it. The Gemara had a havamiyah. There was a machloket of ma'akvin. And what was the machlokas? If you hold ein ma'akvin, why would you say ein ma'akvin? Because oto means that each stands alone, each has its own identity. And if you hold ma'akvin, why? Because they're so integrated that it's not defined as it, unless it has the two components.
Well, yeah, I mean...
Right?
Sure.
Yes?
I mean, I would have said just because the simple flow of the pasuk seems to say that. You know?
Well, but they base their drush on the same word.
Right.
The Rashba is clarifying the Gemara. How can you get from the same word two different drushot? And the answer is, do you view oto as each one of them independently is it?
Why would you think that?
Well, that's the way we paskin.
So, but I'm saying why would
because it's so
meaning from the reading it says that you have the strings and you have the string and then
right. So the Rashba's argument is that because if it had wanted to say that, it should have, according to the Rashba, and this is why I put the Rashba, it should have said oto after the string and not after the clarification of Techelet and Lavan, because it should have said and you shall see it, meaning the strings, and they have Techelet and Lavan, but tarehu and put tzitzit and put Techelet and Lavan on it. But instead, it says, and you shall see it after having clarified the details. Which sounds like the direct object is the immediately preceding discussion and not to preceding. Meaning not the generality, but that which we've now clarified. That's his argument. That what's going on in the Gemara is that because the pasuk, it's right. I mean, the whole Re'item Oto comes after we've clarified components. Mm-hmm. And he said, if you wanted to say it was a totally integrated unit, and that the string is it, the object, and Techelet and Lavan are ma'akvin, then it should have said Re'item Oto on the tzitzit before it tells you about the components. But since it waited to say oto after having clarified the components, now the object being modified is the ambiguous Techelet or Lavan. And therefore, the machlokas in the Gemara is...
like the extra thing?
Well, it's definitely not going to be the extra, and therefore it's ambiguous, because Techelet, right? It could be you only see the Techelet, but that would only emphasize the point. Because the Techelet sounds like it's tafel. Rashi is a chiddush that it's not. Yeah? No? One more time?
I'm not a big linguist, so it's a little bit...
Look, the underlying assumption, and this is a point I think I made... Yeah, made yesterday? Yeah, I think I made it yesterday. That the assumption of Chazal in reading Psukim is what we call omnisignificance. That any possible resonance in the Pasuk is true. And therefore, any ambiguity that's created by the order of the Pasuk, every potential interpretation has a halachic implication. Or a theologic implication. That's the way Chazal read Psukim.
Like,
and therefore...
or not even that?
More than that, meaning that every resonance, right? It's not just that different possibilities; it's that every level.
Okay.
And that's why you can darshan things from the extra vav and from the extra hey and from the way it's phrased this way. And since it's phrased that way and not that way, we learn two things. That whole methodology. So what's the Rashba saying? That the argument of Ma'akvin is what Chaim says. Just say Oto means the strings. And the strings, once you say that the string is singular and it has two components, what does that teach you? Ma'akvin.
Right.
Because the definition of tzitzit is a completely integrated whole of Techelet and Lavan. And without one, it's not defined as tzitzit.
Right.
But if you want to say that they're independent enough that they're not ma'akev, then you have to say that no. The oto means see it the white, see it the blue, and even if it's an integrated whole in the sense that it's one mitzvah, because tzitzit is still called, that all the words are singular, still the fact that the ambiguity means that we're not sure whether the element being identified is the tzitzit, the techelet or the lavan, that shows you that each has a certain independent identity, and that's why the Torah wrote it with that ambiguity. And that's essentially the Rashba's contention. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now the Gemara rejects this. Right? The Gemara rejects this, because what does the Gemara say? Amarav, afilu teimit Rebbe lo nitzcha el lekadem. What does the Gemara say? What?
No.
What? Not clear?
It's not necessary.
So the Gemara says, L'maskana, we don't pass in this way. Everyone thinks that Chil and Lavan are not ma'akev.
Yeah.
Right. It's whether or not.
So what? The only question is
The order.
L'kadem. Which one goes first?
Right.
Meaning, we'll see what that means. We have to see what that means. We haven't done that, but hold that.
Again, Rebbe fits in better with the flow of the pasuk. Again, at least the way
Titania.
the way that we understand that we didn't share, it fits in. Like I was just thinking about, but anyway.
We'll do L'kadem when we get. We have to hold the thought.
Okay.
Titania mitzvah lakdim lavan the tchelet because there's a machlokes Rashi Rambam what it means lakdim. Did you know that?
The word itself.
To put the string in, doesn't it?
So we say machlokes Rashi and the Rambam what lahakdim means, and that's what the Grizz points out here. So machlokes Rashi Rambam. What?
We didn't do the Grizz.
Okay. We will do that in a few days. But it's something to do with the order. Rashi thinks that's putting in. Well, in Bikitzur, it's not going to take us a long time, but we're just going to try to understand it. Rashi says lahakdim means that it's a mitzvah to put the white in before the techelet.
Because of min knaf.
Because, yes. Rambam doesn't think that. Rambam thinks there's no such mitzvah. You can put techelet in first, you can put lavan in first. The mitzvah is, lahakdim has to do with where you tie the knots.
Don't you,
which order you wrap
it.
You
tie them all together. Like
you put white, and right, then it starts wrapping the white, and then wrapping the blue.
Don't you put them in together?
I thought you wrap it with one string.
I mean, whatever, meaning,
yeah,
okay, meaning, right, like on your tzitzit, right, the white comes first, and only then the blues.
Oh.
Right?
Don't you put them in together? Like, you mean first, or
that you're literally supposed to put it in the baguette first.
What if you just do literally like all four?
You shouldn't. You should. That's what Rashi says. You should put, according to Rashi, you should put in the white first.
Oh.
Correct.
Interesting.
I thought it's just easier if you just do all four.
Well, if you're only putting in white, it doesn't make a difference, right?
Yeah, I'm saying even if you're putting in both.
So according to Rashi, no, you're supposed to put in white first. But we'll come back to Makvin.
Okay. Do we hold?
What?
Do we hold like that?
We'll see. We're doing an order. We have to focus on Makvin. V'im hiktim Techelet Lavan yotza, but if you put the Techelet in first, whatever that means, you're yotza. L'shechitzer mitzvah, but you missed the mitzvah. My chitzer mitzvah. What does that mean? Ilay machitzer mitzvah, the Lavan became mitzvah Techelet. If it means you fulfilled the white and you didn't fulfill the white, you did the Techelet. L'Rebbe ukuve ma'akev ahadadi. That means they're ma'akev. So Amar Rav Yehuda Marav, shechitzer mitzvah v'asa mitzvah. U'may chitzer mitzvah. D'lovad mitzvah min ha'muvchar. It just means that it's not mitzvah min ha'muvchar. It's not the best mitzvah. So then the Gemara says, Hatenach Lavan deinu ma'akev et Techelet. Techelet deinu ma'akev et Lavan ma'i. I get it. So I know what white Techelet is ma'akev Lavan. What does it mean that Techelet? So I understand what Lavan isn't ma'akev Techelet. What does it mean Techelet is ma'akev as a Lavan? Amar Rachama l'ntzchal talit shekula Techelet. A talis which is completely Techelet, it marnami, and there you only put. And it marnami, Amar Levi the Shmuel Har Yochlo did vakar levarj lehalam milta Techelet ma'akev et Lavan. He tells the story. Ba'Lavan iman et Techelet. Ma'hi, what is it? Amar Leilo nitzchal l'sadim b'tzitzit the mitzvah lakdume Lavan bereisha. The first is to say you should put the white first. My time al knaf min knaf. The aktim Techelet Lavan litlan ba. But if you put Techelet first, it's fine. Teinach Lavan deinu ma'akev et Techelet deinu ma'akev et Lavan ma'hi. So Amar Le Rami Barchama l'nitzchal l'talit shekula Techelet the mitzvah lu Techelet bereisha da knaf min knaf. The aktiv Lavan bereisha litlan ba. Okay. All these things have to be analyzed, but let's focus on the ma'akven. How do we paskin? How do we paskin? Ma'akven or ein ma'akven?
Ein ma'akven.
Good. So you would say ein ma'akven. What would tell you ein ma'akven?
Like the fact that we allow to wear tzitzis without tchelet.
So good. You have your experiential thing, which is that you know you wear tzitzis without tchelet. And what else? In the Gemara, why would you say that we paskin this way?
No, because the idea of it's just a hit or mitzvah.
I mean, conceptually, that's what you'd say, right? That it's an addition to the mitzvah. But in the flow of the Gemara, why would you tell me that Techelet is not ma'akev Lavan, Lavan's not ma'akev Techelet?
Oh, because it doesn't go with the Mishnah.
Because there is no such shita, according to the Gemara. Right. The Mishnah says, Eina ma'akev, and the Gemara says, oh, isn't there another shita, Rebbe? And what does the Gemara answer?
Nope.
No, there's no such shita.
Well,
ma'akev for Rebbe means something about something else.
Right.
But not in terms...
Right.
Good. If you found a shita who rejected it, what would that tell you?
That rejected what?
That if you found a shita that said, despite everything I just said, that Techelet is ma'akev as halafan, what would that tell you conceptually about the definition of tzitzit?
SP together.
Yeah, meaning that having Techelet and Lavan is
one mitzvah.
This is the absolute extreme of the Tosfos like shita. Meaning that Techelet and Lavan are both definitional, so definitional that without one, it's not tzitzit. Nikuda.
That's the opposite extreme of Tosfos.
No, that would be Tosfot taken to the extreme. Tosfot says that, but without ma'akev. Meaning he says you can have tzitzit, but you just have to drop two.
Right.
But to say that they're both essential and integrated would be to say mamish ma'akvin pshuto k'mashmau. Who holds that? So the Gemara seems to reject the possibility that Rebbe holds that.
Yeah.
So if you look on this sheet, the one I gave you, there is one shita that holds this.
I didn't get that one. And I have that's this one.
This one. Okay.
And I have this one.
Okay, I mean, that's from a while ago.
Yeah.
We're going to be moving back and forth between these sheets because I changed my mind a little bit and decided that it was worth doing psak now because of the conceptual clarity it added. Just this point, not all the psak stuff, but this conceptual point. There's one shita who holds that it's ma'akev, and that is the Balamor. Who is the Balamor?
He lived in
1400s.
Southern France, known as Provence. What was his name?
Yeah, I should know this.
Yitzchak, something.
Not even close.
Oh, wait a minute. The Meor.
He wrote two books, the Mora Gadol, Mora Katan.
Wait, isn't anyone? Oh no, wait.
Anyone from Provence is enlightening. Good. What's his name?
1 minute.
Zirachia. Zirachia. Which,
I was going to start guessing French sounding.
no, Zirachia.
Very common.
You guys related?
Not very. I don't know what. Look, his parents named him Zerachia, and in one place he tells you he had a brother named Prachia. So,
Zerachia.
Halevi.
Michael and
Maybe they
Michael.
meant Zachariah and just...
No, they meant Zerachia because light names were very popular in Provence. Because again,
Zarach Hashemesh.
correct. And what? Remind me, why in Provence are light names so popular?
Because it was like the
It's
sun.
like-
Because the main cities that the Jews lived in, the main cities were
Light.
Lunel, which means the moon, Narbonne, which relates to the sun. Those are the main cities.
Oh, light as in like.
Light.
You know.
Hence-
Zerach.
Correct.
Oh,
Who else do you know from Provence?
So many.
Reb Menachem leMishpachat Meiri.
Cool.
Who else? Sefer HaMeorot. These are just classic Provençal works. Okay. The Balamor is an interesting person. Balamor wrote his book when he was something like, I think he was 17. 19, 17, none of that. He was a teenager. And what was his book?
Like rough.
Daniel, what was his book?
Sure.
What was the Balamor's... So the Balamor was basically Daniel's age when he wrote it. Yes. And you know what he decided? Instead of just writing his own thoughts on Torah, he decided that as a how old are you? 18, 19? 18. Okay, he was something like that. I forget if he was 17, 19, something like that. About your age. He decided that he was going to take the most well-respected posek of the last 300 years before him, who was Rabbi Yitzchak Alfasi, Rif, and he was going to write a systematic commentary explaining every time he thought the Rif was wrong. Okay? This made people...
the Ravid of the Rambam.
Oh yeah, except the Ravid hated the Balamor also. Hated. They literally, they write back and forth on each other, and why did they hate each other?
Because they were at the same time.
And
the Balamor
and they wanted to marry the same girl. That's why. God.
The oldest woman in the book.
I mean, we know they wanted to marry the same girl. If that's why they had a lifelong hatred, and they wrote
Who was his
visually.
women?
Who married
The Ravid. The Ravid.
What a Chad.
Anyways, but they really didn't like each other. The Ravid writes about the Balamor at different points that this is a basket full of lies. It's just...
Is he the one who said that he was over Baltash?
No. That's the Yom Tov Shlomo on the Migdalos.
Oh.
And therefore, what Sefer is written as a response to the Balamor?
Insults in Judaism.
The Milchamot Hashem. The Ramban says, I'm going to fight the good fight.
The Ramban went to
Wait,
marry
the
the same
Ramban is
time?
around at the same time?
Ramban is later.
Yeah.
Ramban is later. Ramban is a generation later.
The Balamor?
Yes.
Who lived in the 1400s?
Balamor does not live in the
Who
1400s.
did you say
The
lived in
Rambam lived in the 1200s.
Right, I know that.
So the Ramban lives in the 1200s.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Balamor is a generation before him in Provence.
Yeah, because...
Okay, wait. So who did you say lived in the 1400s?
Oh no, I just said it.
No, he said that. He's
I
wrong.
was like,
No, the Balamor is a contemporary of the
I was
Ravid.
just
so
Balamor is a contemporary of the Ravid, which means he's about the Rambam, maybe a little bit older.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit. I'm not sure exact years of Balamor, but he's a contemporary of the Ravid.
But the Ravid writes on the Rambam.
No,
Yes.
no. The Ravid at the end of his life received a copy of the Rambam and wrote some Ha'arot. The Ravid was much older than the Rambam.
I didn't know that, okay.
Yes, the Ravid is older than the
I
Rambam.
thought he was...
No. The Ravid was an established gadol before the Rambam. At the end of his life, he wrote his Zazagos, his full commentaries on Shas, on the Rif,
He has a commentary on the Rif. Okay, yeah.
his commentary on Shas.
But
He was the Zaken on Mekubalim.
Well, now I can see why someone was Makubal would disagree with the Rambam.
On some of the philosophical points, maybe, but anyways. So the Balamor writes this book. He's a teenager. He's a bit of an upstart, and what? Sure. So Ramban responds, and in his commentary on Shabbat, he says the following. Look at number 3 on the new page, okay? And then we're going to be going back and forth, like I said, between these two pages. The new one, the Ma'akvin one, the one I gave you this morning.
Wait, which one were we doing before?
No, the one you had with the Rashba.
Yeah, but which one were we doing, like...
That's the only one I've looked at today, but we're going to go back to some of the sources from yesterday. I'll give you that here. You can take that, but I'm not...
I have.
Okay. Just because I decided last night that I really had to look at this now. So the Balamor writes as follows. Chaim, since I have you today.
Sure.
No, I would never do that to somebody. Okay, fine, go ahead. Just for the record, if you have trouble reading it, know that two of the most complicated commentaries on Shas, period, full stop, are the Balmor and Muhammad. They are nearly impossible to read.
So,
What about
the one you gave us yesterday is 2 sheets?
No, this was something...
You mean in terms of language?
No, it wasn't. It was just one side of one page.
What does it say?
Chelet and Lavan.
You mean
Okay,
in terms of language or the philosophy behind it?
No, just the words. It's a very verbose. Okay, good.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Talve is the...
Talui.
Torah.
And watch, he has a really radical read of the sukkah. This is how he reads it. Go.
The kevon mitzvos of tchelas zu. I feel okay. So since the mitzvos of tchelas and lavan rely on each other,
Yeah, depend on each other.
I feel on Omar ein ma'akvos zu. Even according to Manamar, it says that they don't stop each other. Okay, so they still rely on each other even if you hold that they're not.
Right. So he first of all takes the integrated approach, even according to the Shittos ein ma'akvot zu et zu, which is a chiddush. Right? He thinks that even the Shitto holds ein ma'akev doesn't really mean it. That at some level they really are dependent on each other.
Which is not like Tosfos at all.
Not at all. And therefore he says v'nesra tchelet b'sadin. And therefore, without tchelet, what would happen? You couldn't.
You couldn't. Oh, then you couldn't have
Kilayim, right? Kilayim, right? Remember, that's the nafkamina from the Gemara in Lamed Zayin and Beis. The nafkamina of Chad mitzvah multiple was Sadin b'tzitzit. Remember? The Gemara had said that nafkamina between 1 and 4 mitzvot on tzitzit, not Tchil and Lavan, was
Shatnez.
Well, two nafkaminas, Shatnez and Shabbos. Right? Shatnez meaning if you put 3 strings out of 4, are you over Kilayim? If you think it's 4 mitzvot, no. If you think 1 mitzvah, yes. And if you went outside on Shabbos with 3 strings, would it be carrying? So now the Balamor says even if you hold ein makvot zu and zu,
right.
Without Tchelet and Lavan, what are you not allowed to do?
You can't put Tchelas in Sada.
Correct. Nesra Lavan Ima Mishum Tzervayu Tzitzit Ninu. And what's his argument? Because even if you hold, and I'm not going to try to figure out exactly how he thinks ma'akvot, not ma'akvot, but he thinks that even the whole sheet of not ma'akvot still thinks that they're integrated enough conceptually that without both, they're not really tzitzit. So good, tell me, therefore, what nafkamina is he going to say by the end of this? Predict what nafkamina is.
He's going to say that if you don't have tchelet, then you can't have shatnez.
And what else is he going to say?
And then you can't wear it on Shabbat.
You can't wear it at all, and for sure you can't wear it on
Shabbat.
Shabbos. Good. Who holds that way? I've said this several times.
The Soloveitchiks.
The Soloveitchiks.
Wait, just the Shabbos part.
Correct. They're only machmir, like the Balamor, for Shabbos. And this is why anybody knows the Balamor Shita. It's because the brisker of wouldn't wear his tzitzis on Shabbos to be choshesh for the Shita of the Balamor that Tchelas Magav is 11. So let's see this.
Okay.
He says, "Ve'ein lecha lahafrish beineihem shemetachayvet said melavan v'osu b'tchelet nimtzav asur." Don't tell me that maybe, right? He's talking about Xera against certain things. I don't want to get into the details of it. Okay, good. So now skip down to the ellipsis. Okay? Actually, no. Go to the riff. Umasha goes to riff zal ki ala tchelet Heim dvarim amurim lo matzinu tchelet levada shenekret tzitzit bishum makom lo b'mikra v'lo b'mishna v'lo b'talmud. This is also why people didn't like the Balamor. It wasn't just that he attacked the riff. They argued the riff. Is that this little teenager kid like your age? This is how he talks about the riff. What the riff said is wrong. It goes against the Mishnah. It goes against the Gemara. It goes against Tanakh. It goes against everything. Right? This is how he talks. He was a bit.
He said how riff is, no.
Yes.
It was rabbinic disrespect.
Some people like that in
Okay.
Yeshiva?
No. Never mind.
That's like someone said. No offense, but
You're an idiot and everything you say is wrong.
correct. So that's basically how he talks about the riff, and that's why people got annoyed at him.
Well, at least he said no offense.
Exactly.
He could have said offense.
No offense, but
You know what? You're stupid. You're wrong. All right.
He could have, but yeah.
So he says-
He said offense.
And he says, but what's his argument? Look at his conceptual claim. What's his conceptual claim? Chaim. What's his conceptual claim? How does he know what he says is true? Because Techelet is never called Stam Tzitzit ever. These are integrated. We have the Odeya. Sheda'atenu noteh she'atchelet ma'akevet et Lavan ve'alavan et Techelet. I think we paskin like the Hava Amina of the Gemara within Rebbe.
What?
Chaim's like, that doesn't make any sense. So does Gavi. Everyone's saying that. And he says, v'ava gav de Tanya v'chacham omer ein ma'akven. Ha-parish n'megor, man chacham yichidahi k'damrin b'gemara, mantana, the palakadiri, yitzchak, kudamar, the ein lo tchelet matelo. Lavan, he said, because later on in the Gemara, you discover that the chachamim are a specific shita. Hilka chadrin l'kalav d'naktinan, halacha ki Rebbe michaveiro. So therefore we paskin like Rebbe. What's the problem? Didn't the Gemara reinterpret Rebbe to say that it's only about order? Etc. Skip down. He says, and then he brings the whole story. So he says 3 lines on he said, what's the problem? The problem was that all of this was under the assumption that the Gemara was playing these games only because there was this assumption that this was the Shitas Yachid. But once you establish that Rebbe is not the Shitas Yachid, so we don't have to reinterpret him. And I don't want to go through every move he makes there, but basically he thinks that this reinterpretation is only necessary until you realize that we paskin like Rebbe. Once you realize we paskin like Rebbe, the reinterpretation is not necessary.
But we don't.
Wait, yeah, we don't.
Well, he says we do.
But the Mishnah says we don't.
Well, he says we do.
Isn't that what the mom does?
And therefore he says, listen, he says 3. I didn't say it was easy.
I'm just saying.
Okay. In 3 lines at the bottom, he says, "Umina kadmoneno b'macharif l'smog alav kasher Yisrael ish b'davar elokim umena pachan milag v'amenu k'mo shenoga yom kol goshanu alkein anachnu yotzim v'kver rishonim." And he says the minhag that people have to wear tzitzit bechlal is because they paskin like the Rif, but it's wrong. And therefore the Baal Mor tells you, does he wear tzitzis?
Nope.
No, the Baal Mor didn't wear tzitzis.
What was the story?
Because he said it's only if you can, but we paskin tchelet ma'akevet et Lavan. We don't have tchelet, you're not yotzei. And therefore, are you allowed to go out with white tzitzis? No, ever.
Why ever?
Because you're wearing arva kanfa without tzitzit. And the briskers are makbid, not in general, but they're makbid on Shabbos. Because in general, it's only a bittul asay. But on Shabbos, b'yisra hatzah, b'daraisa. And what does the Melchamo say? What do you think Melchamo says?
This is ridiculous.
Yeah, you're out of your mind, right? He says, "Umasha or balamor zal shedaito no teshat chilin ma'akevet."
Who wrote the Malcham?
The Ramban.
I like that how they have such disrespect that they call them, but they have to have the zal. You know, it's a Rav Alpas zal, and
It's like the no offense, but
Umasha or balamor zal shedaito no teshat chilin ma'akevet alavan. Midadrin la pirush tamatzis lead the Rebbe. Since the Gemara in its continuation seems to go back to its original interpretation of Rebbe, he says that is I'll leave the Rebbe Eino Raya Shel Klum. So that is just wrong. To be shum the Rebbe Satminhu Libraisa Lemasisin Lukminu Kavatayu. He said because in the end of the day, what did the Gemara? He said even if you think that's true. But then at the end of the day, Rebbe really holds Techelet Ma'akevet et Lavan. What's the normal rule of Psak? How do we paskin? Stam Mishnah.
Oh.
And what does the Stam Mishnah say?
It's not.
It's not Ma'akev. Right? And therefore he says, even if it's true, it doesn't matter, because we paskin like the Stam Mishnah. And then if you're interested in to see everything that he does, just look at his last line. Look at the last line on the first page. He says, "V'hinei lebalamor." Right, this is really what you need to see. "V'hinei lebalamor achshav imkom alalu ein adam sarich lahatil lavan levado." According to the Balamor, what would be yotzei? That nowadays you have to wear. Should you wear tzitzis?
No.
No. The kol shekain j'aser b'Shabbat. And for sure you aren't allowed to wear tzitzis on Shabbos.
Unless you have tchelet.
We'll come. Sometime after we finish this sugya, like everything on these sheets in a day or two, we're going to move to the modern tchelet. We're going to take a pause in the rest of the Gemara. We're going to spend some time on the modern tchelet issue because I think it's worth doing.
The snail juice.
The snail juice, yeah.
Do they test their snail juice with urine?
The Murex trunculus in formal language.
Yeah.
Snail juice.
Actually, apparently they changed the name.
They did. It's the
Hexaplus trunculus.
Yes, now it's the Hexaplus trunculus. You're correct. It used to be the Murex trunculus, and now it's called the Hexaplus trunculus.
Do they test it with urine?
Because of course that really helped you. Because when I said Murex trunculus, you're like, oh, I don't know which snail that is. But when I said Hectopix trunculus, you're like, oh yes, that's my pet, right?
I mean, if you know Latin, I think these things make more sense.
What?
These things make more sense if you know Latin.
Fine. You know what?
I don't know Latin.
If you Google it, you Google either, it'll give you a picture of the same thing. It'll be fine.
It's not a language; it's a code.
And he says, "Lo el shechayev chatat." Dahavelek arba tzitzit shemakvot zo et zo, vahavelek talat she'ena mitzuyet kel chata. Cholyot bechayev chata. And he says, where does the Ramban get his proof that the main nafkamina of ma'akev is going to be that you're chayev misa on Shabbos? Where does he get his proof? The Gemara on Lamed Zayin Amud Bet, which said that the nafkamina between one, you guys didn't do that, but that was the machlokas in the Gemara, based on the Mishnah, of whether the arba tzitziot, not Techelet Lavan, the 4 strings are 1 mitzvah or 4 mitzvot. It's machlokas in the Mishnah, Rabbi Shmuel and the Chachamim. And the Gemara said, what's the nafkamina there? Techelet and tzitzit, the shatnez and tzitzit and Shabbos. Whether you're chayav for going out on Shabbos with 3 out of 4 tzitzit. If you hold it's 1 mitzvah, you're chayav for carrying. If it's 4 mitzvah, then you're not chayav for carrying because the 3 are meaningful.
If you're missing strings, then you.
If you think it's 4 separate mitzvot, then if you go out with 3, then the 3 are at least meaningful, so it's not carrying. If you think it's 1 mitzvah, then it's nothing, and therefore you're chayav for carrying. So Ramban says that therefore, if the Balamor holds Techelet Makev Lavan, then that means the Maisa, in general, you shouldn't wear tzitzit, and if you wear it on Shabbos, in Rosh Hashanah, then you're chayav misa.
Well, very few places are Rosh Hashanah Doraita.
That's what you think.
What?
That's what you think.
It's a predatory.
Why would you think that? That's because you're taking certain assumptions. That's because you hold of Erevin. Right? If you were a brisker, you wouldn't hold of Erevin because you would know that that's wrong according to many Rishonim. Right? I'm not saying you shouldn't carry an Erevin.
They're wrong though.
You can only build an Erevin. You can only build an Erevin from the place that isn't that is only Shiram Derevin.
Ah, why do you think people don't like Erevin?
What if it's...
I thought people don't like it because they're not built properly.
That also. But also because why would you assume that there's not a Shiram Doraisa?
Rabbi, if the community...
I'm not telling you not to carry, I'm just saying that briskers don't carry anywhere.
What if the community carries and all the rabbis do and you don't? Isn't that Yura?
But you don't have to carry.
Yeah, you don't have to carry. And really, you want to be chayav misa.
Yeah, that's like a shiva of Al Tasa kind of.
You want to be chayav misa. Oh.
I came to a conclusion with my thing.
Oh, good. Good, I'm glad.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is it Yura to avoid something that would carry the death penalty?
If
you're convinced that it is death penalty worthy?
Well, today we don't really have a death penalty, so yeah.
Well, that's great.
Oh no.
That was a bad conclusion.
Because Yura still applies, but death penalty now. So.
Now,
that doesn't eradicate.
Now I will point out there is an irony. The Ramban says, do you know where you would be allowed to wear tzitzit, even according to Balamor on Shabbos? On a beged, which is only chayav midir albanan. But it's only chayav midir albanan.
Like cotton, you're saying.
Then what? Then the tzitzit that are on it, even if just lavan, if you're mekayim it midir albanan, then they're meaningful because it's complete. Right? That's the next line. He said, "Avo bishabatal shedivreim yotzim kaven dehi mitzuyetzet kechiyuva bat leilagaba." Something which is only chayav midir albanan, then you can be yotze only midir albanan, and therefore is it carrying? No, because it's meaningful. Right? So this
Halacha-theory kind of business?
I don't know. He says, "Ukvar kibalnu eduto," And he says that we have Eidut. Guys, he says we have Eidut that what? Shekol Yamav Pater Atzmo Min HaTzitzit Kidvarav Halalu. We heard that the Balamor indeed in his lifetime didn't wear tzitzit. Vare Avod Kadmonim Mimoragonim Nagu Latzeit B'Talit Sheish B'Lavan V'Lo Techelet. And he said, what does the Ramban say? You mechutzaf. You are such you are. He said all the Gedolim, they all wore tzitzis, white tzitzis, and you're going to tell me you're not allowed to wear tzitzis? Umemra der Nachman Gufa damar Sema o Pishtim Havi Tiyufta Shilo Yatchil Lavan Pt2 Zezah Yocham Tzrifin Lahatel Achad Talit Sheshar Lahatel Bashnerim Shreim Ve'echad Mehem Zeichel Lakim Mitzvah Tzitzit V'chol Tikun Ravan again. The Tikun, he goes on and he proves it. And then he quotes several other shitot, and therefore at the end, at the last line, he says, Hadvarim modiim shekulam nechochem lamevin v'yisharim notzei dad v'ashrei hamidaber la'ozen hashomad. This is very classic Ramban to end his Balamor talk, which is, the things are known, because shekulam nechochem lamevin, they are all clear to those who understand, and they are straight to those who have found wisdom, and praiseworthy is one who speaks to the ear who listens. Right? The implications of that statement is, anybody who thinks straight knows that this is the right answer. If you say otherwise, you are stupid. Right? You are crazy. But what do we see conceptually? Right? The Balamor is the extreme. He says we paskin ma'akev, and what is his logic? Right? What's his logic? What does he say?
There is none.
Meaning, no. There's two questions. One's the logic of the position. The second is that a fair read of the sugya? And what does he say? What's the logic of the position? The logic is exactly what the Gemara said, is that the word tzitzit means Techelet plus Lavan, totally integrated in their definition, and therefore one without the other is meaningless.
Right.
Correct? What's interesting for him is that is not crazy. That's what a shita of Ma'akvin would mean. Right? He's the extreme because he thinks that this is true for everybody, and he thinks that to some extent even the shita who holds ein Ma'akvin holds this. Right? That this notion that the blue and white are integrated even is ein Ma'akvin, and that's really radical. Okay.
Not choking. It's more like it.
Are you guys up to continuing one more complicated shita, or should I hold one more complicated shita for tomorrow?
I have a question.
Yeah.
It may not apply to now because we might do it later. But do you need techelis on tzitzis that are derabanan?
You should, I think. We'll get there. I'm not 100% sure. Guys, what do you think? Are you up for another very complicated shita, or should we wait till tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Okay, so remember yesterday, just to remind you, remember I said that the Rabbeinu Bachaye seems to have a weird middle shita, which is that Techelet is ma'akev and a lavan if it exists, but if you don't have access to it, then it's not ma'akev.
Yeah.
Right? So I found that in cooking-bishul Perla, and that's what I gave you here, the Be'er on the Rasag, he actually presents an argument for this. Not quoting Rabbeinu Bachaye. He doesn't know that this is Rabbeinu Bachaye, but his argument does seem to go in that direction. So tomorrow, try to reread the piece of Rabbeinu Bachaye and read cooking-bishul Perla, because that'll be the last interpretation of Ma'akvin, and try to finish the sheet of Techelet Lavan. That'll be tomorrow. That's Wednesday. Today's Tuesday.
Oh wow, it's Tuesday.
So then hopefully Thursday we'll start the topic of modern Techelet. That will take us probably 2 days, and then we'll continue. Then we'll go back into the Gemara and continue. Okay.
Do you have an extra sheet of that one? Or?
Which